I just created this N8N automation that I'm going to show you how to build step by step in this video, and it allows you to create really cool avatars that are talking content creators like this.
Big news in AI. Anthropic just dropped Claude's skills.
This new feature allows Claude to learn and integrate with external tools and APIs.
Big news in AI. Anthropic just dropped Claude skills. This new feature allows Claude to learn and integrate with external tools and APIs.
Claude can now browse the web, answer specific queries using live data, and even
You can use these type of avatars to create faceless YouTube channels, or you can use your own face to create your own content. So with the AI tools that I'm going to show you in this video, you can now create a lot longer form content creation that lip sync really perfectly. I'll show you how to do it in this video. We're going to be using N8N as the platform. We're going to build it step by step. By the time you finish this video, you'll be able to create these type of talking avatars for any content you like, or use your own face to create content. So the first thing that you need to do is get an account at N8N. So if you're new and you haven't used N8N before, then just simply go to N8N and get an account on the cloud. It's the easiest way to get started. I'm self-hosting my version, but cloud is perfectly fine for this. So once you get an account at N8N, you're going to see a blank canvas. So let's walk through what you're going to do to set this up. It's actually not that difficult. So if you've never done anything like this before, you'll be able to do this. And I'm also going to give you a link below to install this template. So you can watch along as I build, because it's going to help you to understand how to do it for yourself. But to save you the hassle, you can just import my entire workflow. You don't have to actually do it. So when I give you the link below, all you got to do is go import, and then it will allow you to import this template, and it will be pre-built for you. So let's have a look at the principle and what we're doing. So the first thing that we need to do is create a trigger event that's going to get information that we store externally on a spreadsheet. So the spreadsheet I'm going to use is Google, because it's free, and you can also use other things like Airtable if you want to. So this is the first part that we have to get set up. So in order for this to work, we need to add a trigger to the timeline to the canvas rather, on N8N. So I'm going to click the plus button, and I'm going to add what's called here just a manual trigger. So if you just type in manual trigger like that, click it, dump it on the timeline. That's all we need to do. The next module is this Google module here. So if we click this open, this is a Google Sheets module, and we want to do a get rows module. So what we're doing here is we go and add another module on N8N, and we just put Google in here. You can see the option for Google Sheets, and what we want to use is the get rows module there, that one. So add that on. Once you've done that, you do need to do some configuring with Google in order for it to pull through your account, because it's not just going to pull any old account. It needs to pull through your account. So you need to set up the credentials here with Google. Now, for the sake of time in this video, I'm not going to show you how to walk through how to do a Google authentication. So just pause this video and go and find a really quick tutorial with an AI. The best way to do it is actually just asking ChatGPT or an AI, walk me through the steps, step by step, of how I get my credentials so I can connect N8N and Google together. And it's actually really pretty straightforward when you get an AI to walk you through it, rather than even watching a YouTube video. So you need to get your credentials here that you're going to plug in here. So if I click this pencil button, if you're doing it for the first time, I'm going to blur a lot of this out so you can't see it. But you're going to need to get your OAuth redirect URL from N8N, your client ID, and your client secret. You need these things to connect those two accounts together. So make sure you pause and get that step set up, because you can't use my credentials. Once you've done that, you can then pull in your spreadsheet where you put all the information, which is what we're going to do now. So I've just called this Talking Heads the name of the sheet. So if I go to the sheet here called Talking Heads, it's a really pretty straightforward sheet, but I'm going to walk you through it. We only need a couple of columns. Well, actually we need 5. But if you look at what I've got here, the first column is a reference image. So if I click this open, you'll see I have a reference image to start with on the first examples. Okay, so I'll just show you how I created it, this image. But what we need is an image URL that we're going to use as a starting reference point in order to get the video created. So the service that I'm using to create the image is file.ai. So if you go to the browser and type in file.ai, fal.ai, we need to go in here and create this image. And this is just one of the characters that I created. And I simply just used Google's Nano Banana, which is an endpoint model, which I'll show you in a second, to create this image. Once I have that created, I then just get the URL from file, which you can see in the output. You can copy the URL here that file gives you in the output. So I can just copy it and then go back to my Google Sheet. And that's how I got the initial files into here for the image reference. So the first thing you need to do is start with an image reference to begin the process. So over at File, I just went to this endpoint called file.nano-banana. That's where I'm at. I'm at the text to image. So you can just type in here with a little bit of credit at File, and File will use Google's Nano Banana endpoint to create a really high quality image. And you can see here the example that gives you this dog with a tennis ball. So you can do whatever you like there and create the starting image. Once you've got it, you just need to get the URL, which you can go to the JSON on the right and drop that down, and there's your URL right there. That's what you need to put in the sheet first, because we need to start with an image. Now, you can also just go image to image editing here and swap that up top, and you can actually give it seed images plus some text if you want to. But the whole point is you need to create your avatar. Now, if you're doing your own face for content, then you would upload a picture of yourself here and then describe what you want to be doing. You probably want to be looking at a camera. You might want a certain setting, but upload your own image of you and then type into the prompt box what you want to be doing, what you want to be wearing, what your backdrop is. So that's how you can put yourself in a scene to start with. So the point that you got to get to here is you need a starting image. So this whole row is just these different starting images that I created with File Nano Banana. So once you've done that first step, name this column something that you'll recognize. I just put image_reference. The next column I created was voice_ID. So let's have a look at what we've done with these voice IDs and where they're coming from. So to get a voice for your character, we need to use a service called 11 Labs, which is this service here. But we're going to access 11 Labs through another one of these aggregators like File. These are just big aggregator websites that have access to all these different endpoints for video and audio and image. And the reason they're so handy is you can just put credit on these accounts without having to pay a monthly subscription that a lot of these other endpoints that you might want to use. So we're going to use a service called 11 Labs in wavespeed.ai. So wavespeed's similar to File. Just go and get an account at Wavespeed. You only need to put a little bit of credit on. They may even give you free credit, I think, when you get started. And we're going to use 11 Labs in here to create that audio. So first of all, we need to get audio talking of what the script is that we want to say. Once we've done that, we're then going to apply the audio to the image, make the image start talking in lip sync, and connect that audio together. So that might sound a little bit confusing, but if we just quickly go back to the workflow, and I'll show you what's going on here. Up here is the first part where we get the audio. So this is where we get the actual character gets pulled in, we get the audio on the top row, and then the bottom row is the video production when we add that audio to the video. So it'll all make sense as we progress through this video. So what we want to do, first of all, is actually get a voice that we like the sound of. So what I did here was I just went straight to 11 Labs themselves, and I started testing around with some of their voices that I liked. So you can actually go directly to 11 Labs here and try out any of these voices until you find a voice you like, and then go over to the right and click Copy Voice ID. Once you got the voice ID, you just click Copy like that. Go back to your spreadsheet and just paste it in. That's all this column is. It's just the voice IDs of the voices that you liked for your character. So once you've got an image to start with, a voice ID, we now need to give it a script to talk about. So you can just script. It obviously depends on what you're doing, but I've just put a simple script in here about Anthropic's new release, which you saw in the beginning of this video, a new Claude Skills thing that Anthropic had released. So this is where you put your script. You put whatever script it is that you're going to write. So I'm not going to do script building automations here, but you could, the more advanced you get with N8N, you could add a script writing section in here first that then passes through the script, depending on what you want to do. But to keep it simple, I'm just going to say paste your script in here. So far, all we got is a reference image, a voice ID, and a script. And we put them all in a Google Sheet. really, there's not a lot more to do with Google on this sheet. It's pretty straightforward, except we need one more thing to show what status this is at, because we don't want to recreate videos again that we've already done. So we just simply add a status column, task_status, and then we have an output column where the result shows up here. So to do it, a status column, all we're doing in Google here is we just give it a drop-down menu option. So you can just go format that column and then just find the status drop-down menu. There it is there down on drop-down. So if you go to drop-down there, you can just choose a drop-down and then just choose what you're actually selecting. I've just got run and complete. I probably should actually have a third one, which is pending, but I didn't put it in there. But you can easily just add a third one called pending. The reason is once this is done, it will change that from run or from pending to run to complete. That's a pretty straightforward step. This is all you actually need to do on Google. Once you've got this set up on a Google Sheet, back to N8N, that's all you need to do on this step to get started. So once you've done that, what we're going to do now is add an HTTP module, and we're going to send a request to WaveSpeed to get this 11 Labs voice ID reading the script that we give it. So in order to do this, we need to add an HTTP module. So I'm going to go HTTP on the side, HTTP request. If we open this up here, what we're doing in here is we're calling WaveSpeed, and we're calling the 11 Labs URL endpoint at WaveSpeed. So this is a post method. So post, and the URL that we're using in here is this one here that you can get from WaveSpeed, which is just api.wavespeed. You can read it like that or take a screenshot. So again, back at WaveSpeed, they actually give you all the documentation in here that you need. So everything that you need to set up this is all in here. If you go to the API of 11 Labs Flash 2.5, this is where you can get everything that you need. So this is what I'm setting up right now, is just this stuff in here. So if we go back to our workflow, put the URL in that we need, you're going to need to give credentials in order to connect. So it's the same thing that you do when you connected Google Sheets to N8N. Everything needs authentication. Otherwise, it's not a secure way to do it. So what we're going to do here is set it to header auth, and then you need to set up your credentials here at WaveSpeed and save them in here. So the authorization here is name authorization, and in the value field, you just do what WaveSpeed tells you to do when it sets it up. So you can see down below, they tell you authorization is in the header section. It's authorization, and then you click bearer, and then you put your WaveSpeed API key that they give you. So you go and get your API keys here. There's a button at the top called API key. Go and create it. And then in the authorization with your HTTP request, you just put bearer, capital B, space, and then your API key. So if we go back to N8N, see what it looks like. I've done authorization in that field. This field that you can't see just has bearer, space, my API key. That's all you got to do. And then you just click save. And once you're done save, you can just, you save it and name it WaveSpeed so you remember it for next time. And then you can just choose it. It's quite straightforward. After that, send body to on. Then we want to go JSON using the JSON below. And what we do in here is we just paste exactly like I've got in there. You can take a screenshot of that. And again, back at WaveSpeed, they tell you how to set this up in here. All I'm doing at this stage here is just setting up this part here like that. And the text that we give it is the script that we put in our Google Sheet. So how do we pull the script in? Well, it's pretty straightforward. All we're doing is mapping our script here. So if we go back here and we look at our Google Sheet, it looks like it's not connected for some reason. But all we got to do here is, if I just run this again from here, because I pinned this when I was testing earlier, what's happening when I run it, it's going to pull through, actually it's pinned this data. So let's just disconnect that, connect it again, and I'm going to pull it through from here. So now it's going to pull this data through this module. Okay, I did a bit of a blunder there. Sorry, what I didn't realize is all of my statuses on the original sheet here were all set to complete. So it wasn't pulling anything through. Because what we got set here is we have a filter when we pull stuff through that it actually, if we go to our Google Sheet, you can see here, we have a filter here. The task column has to be set to run. That way it's only going to pull anything through that has a status set to run. Otherwise it won't pull it through. So I had everything already completed. So there was nothing to pull through. So I reset one of those to run. You can see now it's pulled through my script. All I need to do is map into this HTTP body request here all I've got to do is map in the script. So you can see the text field here. If I drag script, I just drop it straight in there. That's all I need to do. I also need to pull the voice ID. So it knows not only the script, but the voice ID. So I'm going to pull the voice ID from here, drop it in there. Now I've got everything that I need. You can just set this to everything like I've already left it like that. And that's all you need to do. Once you click run on this step, what happens is this request is going to get sent to WaveSpeed, and they're going to send us back a ID of the job, which you can see in here. And what we want to do is we want to poll to see if that's ready. So we're going to do a polling. We'll just do a wait step. So you want to wait about 60 seconds and then check. Now, ideally, you should be polling here to see if it's ready. So I've just got it set to 1 second because I was doing testing. But what you want to do in here is wait and then sorry, I take that back. I've got polling set up. Sorry, I'm just kind of losing where I'm up to. So what we're going to do is put a wait step. So put 60 seconds in here as a wait step like this. So I'm going to put 60 seconds. It doesn't take long for it to do the job on this particular one. And then what we want to do is just check. So we do another request here, another HTTP. This is a GET request, but the difference here is this URL is a different URL. And what we do is we put this JSON.ID in here /result. So what we're doing is we're going to the first HTTP module and we get this ID here and we drop it in there like that. All this is doing is sending a request to WaveSpeed saying, are you done yet? Did you finish the job? And it's going to send a response back, either complete or pending, and it's to tell us if it's ready or not. So we see what response we get back, and then this is what this module here can do. It's the status result that we get back. They'll send us a status result. It'll either say completed, processing, or failed. So that's what you do here. You set up this result. The status is the same in all these fields on the switch module. So to do a switch module, you just add in switch on the right on N8N like that. And then we're going to set up these rules. So when the status is equal to completed, then we're going to say that route is complete. And then we do processing or failed, depending on what's going on here. So in this example, this one's come back and said it's complete. So if we run the switch module here like this, it's going to give us a complete. Now I've set that to 60 seconds. So what I'm going to do is just pause that. And I'm just going to change that to 1 second so we don't have to wait 60 seconds for that to run. And let's run that again and we'll wait 1 second. And then it's going to say complete. So you can see here the output is now complete. So then we got our audio. So if you want to check your audio file, you can just grab it straight from in here. And you can see there is an MP3. You could grab that, put it in your browser, and it will open with an audio player and you can listen to the audio there. But at this stage, we've got our audio file from WaveSpeed using 11 Labs. So we're making good progress. Let's carry on. Not a lot more to do in this, actually, to be honest with you. So the next thing we want to do is use a video endpoint here, which again is using WaveSpeed. So we can just duplicate everything we did at WaveSpeed to set up that first credentials. You don't have to recreate them again. But this time we're going to use a different endpoint. We're going to use Infinite Talk. Infinite Talk is really the secret sauce behind this, enabling you to get these characters to lip sync, and long videos too. It's not limited. So it's not as limited as some of the other video models. And they do a pretty good job of lip syncing. So this is what Infinite Talk is really interesting about, this model here on WaveSpeed. So we're going to use Infinite Talk. All the credentials stay the same. All you got to do is change this JSON payload that we're sending over. So this is what it looks like in here. What we're going to do here is just map in our audio and our image. So the way where we get our audio from is the output that we just did. We just did that step there. So you get that audio output, map it into audio. And then the image, that's the original image that we pulled through from our Google Sheet. So we'd go back to our Google Sheet and we'd get our image that we're using. So it's image reference that I'm going to drop in as the image. So the prompt is if you want it to actually be doing something. So if you just want a character to be talking to the screen, you don't really need to be prompting it to do anything. And these talking head videos don't really need a prompt. So we can just leave it blank. So we don't actually need to map that prompt in like that. We can just leave it blank. If you want it to do the character to do some specific hand gestures, this is where you would map in a prompt. But for this example, we're just using it for talking head videos where they're not really doing anything, so we'll leave it empty. That's all you need to do here, and then your video will be created for you. So if we hop out of here, you would run that, and then you want to put another wait step here, and it's going to be a longer wait step. I'm not going to put it in there. I'm going to just put 1 second for testing purposes, but these can take about 5 minutes or longer to create. So leave a reasonable amount of time. And then it's the same polling step that we did above for the 11 Labs. It's the same sort of thing. We just do the endpoint now is the result here that at wave speed gives us to check. So if you want to know how to get these results, these API calls, just go to their documentation and they'll tell you here, this is how you query to get the result back here. They always tell you how to do it below on each one of their models. So we're just querying it to get the result back. Same sort of thing, dragging the ID of the job. And once that's done, it'll give us an output, same thing that we did up here. So we're just replicating these steps here. And when it's complete, we're going to get a video that comes out the complete path. Then we're going to add an update row on Google Sheets. So you can just go to Google Sheets here and just get a different module now. So if I go to Google Sheets, this one's just update row. So just get the update row module and then you update it. You choose the same connections as we did to the same sheet. And here we're just mapping in the row number. So this is an important step. We want to map in the original row that we started from. So you want to map in the row ID. So if I go back here, you can see when this row comes through, it gives you this row number. So you want to make sure you're mapping to update this row number. So this is an important number to pull through. So if we go back in here, what we want to be mapping in, as you've got here, that's what I've done in there. It's just I've mapped in that row number, which is 5. So it knows what row it's updating is all that's doing. All you need to do in here is then just change the status to update to complete and then the output, and then you are done. So that's how you can create talking head videos, and you can play around with this, do all sorts of stuff. But some videos on some channels on YouTube are building full faceless video channels now with avatars like this, so you don't have to be on camera like I am right now, which I might think of transitioning to be honest, soon. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, do me a huge favor. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what type of videos you'd like me to create. Give me a thumbs up and a like. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.